Ball's in line with my big toe. My body's aimed to my left. I've moved the space. I've created some space. Now, I just really quick, I brought you a little diagram. We have, in my left hand, an uppercase letter Y. In my right hand, I have a lowercase letter y. They're not the same. Okay, when you get set to swing and you are chipping only, you need to think of, this is worth writing down, the lowercase letter y. So from my elbows to my hands to the club, right now I have the lowercase letter y. When you are pitching, you'll go to an uppercase letter Y. But for right now, I'm talking chipping, not pitching. So when you chip, lowercase letter Y, you'll actually find that now your hands are advanced ahead of the ball. And then when I chip, the lowercase letter Y stays in shape throughout. Because what so many people try to do is they think, okay, I've got this club that's got 56 degrees of loft on it. Now, what do I need to do? I need to use my wrists to try and lift the ball up in the air. How bad does this look? There's no way I can consistently do that. So when I chip, my lowercase letter y stays throughout the swing. When I get set to swing, chipping only, I'd like to estimate that I have about 65 or 70% of my weight on my front foot. That helps me to get that lowercase letter y. So right now, I'm heavy over here, I'm light over here. 65, 70% of your weight is on your left foot. When getting set to chip, your feet close together. The minute a person takes a lesson from me and I say, okay, chip, and if their feet get real wide, they don't have a clue what they're doing. When you're chipping, your feet are close together. Ball placement, big toe, right foot. Lowercase letter y, weight on the front side, feet are open. Guys, that's the one thing that you can do before you hit the ball. If you get yourself into a good habit, then it'll help you to relax. You don't have to worry about all these other kinds of things. If you're set up correctly, chances are good things are going to happen. If you set up poorly and inconsistently, bad things will happen. Okay? Ball line at the big toe, lowercase letter y, weight on the front foot, feet close together, feet open. Okay. Guys, when you get set to swing, now we're going to kind of transition into the backswing a little bit. You need to kind of figure out, okay, how far is the ball going to go? The distance that the ball travels is determined by the length of your backswing and the club that you selected. So, here's what I mean by that. Guys, think of for a moment, there's a great big clock in front of me. Your left arm is always your starting point. When I get set to swing, my left arm is at 6 o'clock. If this is 6, there's 12, here's 9, here's 3. Left arm always starts at 6 o'clock if you are right-handed. Okay, so if I do that, and now, how far on the clock did I swing my left arm back to? About 7. There's 8, there's 9. So, I'm set at 7, or set at 6, sorry. There's 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I've gone to those 3 times. Guys, how many shots have I just taught you? 6 to 7, 6 to 8, 6 to 9. 3 times. How'd you figure out 15?
Because there's 3 different clubs. There's so many different clubs.
Exactly, guys. That's the magic of this. So you could, if you use the 6-iron, 8-iron, and wedge, you could now divide the green into 9 parts. Because if I take my wedge and go to 7 o'clock, that's 1 distance. If I take my 8-iron and go to 8 o'clock, that's another distance. That's the easiest thing you can learn about this. Divide that whole thing now into 9 parts. And the first thing that you need to learn is just where is 6 to 7, 6 to 8, 6 to 9. It doesn't make any difference which club you have. Just learn those ideas. Okay? Pick the spot that you want the ball to land. Be reasonable with those expectations of how far it's going to roll. Taught you 9 different shots. 3 clubs, taking it back to 3 different times. Okay? But what ends up happening so often, people don't work on their short game, they get so nervous that their muscles are so tight, they swing the club back so fast, they wanted to swing to 8, before they know it, their left arm's already up to 11, and they're screwed. The club in the left arm's gone way too far back, their brain senses that, then what do? Now you come down and you start to slow down. The length that the ball travels is determined by how far back the club goes and what club you have. Keep it that simple. So, when I take these shots, guys, tell me what happens to my legs on the backswing. When I swing to my right, what's happening to my legs? They're not moving, they're just staying still. Don't make it any more complicated, because when you swing, if your legs start to do all kinds of craziness, you're making it a lot harder than it needs to be. So, if when you swing back, your legs just remain very still, it'll make everything so much easier. Keep your legs stable. Sure. So the only thing that really moves on the backswing is just your arms. That's it. You need nothing more than that. So, I'm set to swing. There's my 7 o'clock swing. There's my 8 o'clock swing. There's my 9 o'clock swing. That's as far as you need to go with your left arm when chipping. Just go choose a different club if you think you need to go further. Just keep it that simple. Guys, so far, make sense?
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to ask is when you're going in your backswing like that, you show us that you're leaning backwards and you're not supposed to do that, or you're supposed to stay kind of stationary.
Very good. Okay, if I am leaning backwards, it's probably just to kind of look up to you, just to make sure. But no, if I got myself on a more even line, if I were playing golf, I'd want to try and keep myself centered. Definitely none of this. Okay? Make sense?
Once you practice and you know how far your carry is for each, 7, 8, 9.
Yep.
Are you better off if you can to hit a loft with the most lofted club, or to try the least lofted club and have the ball carry on the ground more than you?
Okay. The question is, how high?
Because there's overlap, right?
There's overlap, no question. Okay, guys, this is worth writing down. And it's been proven time and time and time again. The higher the ball flies, the less predictable, the less reliable the first bounce will be. In other words, if the ball flies high, you might land it on the right spot. But the unpredictability of how that ball will react when it hits the green. So the answer to the question is, you should always positively try and take the least lofted club that you can to make the shot that you're trying to do. The higher the loft, the more complicated the shot becomes. If I have my choice to either take an 8-iron or a 6-iron, I am taking my 6-iron all day long because I'm going to get a straighter, truer, more reliable first bounce with the less lofted club. Great question. Great question. Always go for the least lofted club. Anything else? Okay, let me just kind of take a quick leg. Length of backswing starts at 6, goes to 7, goes to 8, goes to 9. Legs remain very stable. I want you to think of a smooth, slow swing, because that way it becomes a little bit easier to judge how far back that left arm has gone. Okay, then the downswing. So we've taken the left arm back to 8 o'clock. Guys, when you get set to swing, where's the weight? 65, 70% on the left foot. Then all you need to do, guys, is you've swung back. Your hips turn around where your weight is. See, if you start with the weight on the front foot, then when it's time to swing forward, your hips just rotate around that left leg. Guys, this is kind of weird, but I was at the World Golf Teaching Summit in November of last year. It's the biggest group of golf instructors, high-profile, big-name golf instructors. And there were about 50 instructors, and there were about 550 of us other guys who were trying to learn. A big-name golf instructor walks up on stage. He's introduced. The guy pulls out a chain, about a 12-foot chain out of his golf bag, metal chain. Now, he starts to walk around the stage. He doesn't say anything. He's walking around the stage. Now, he probably walked for 15 or 20 seconds, and people are kind of starting to get a little uncomfortable, thinking, you know, what is this guy? He's walking around pulling a chain. Then he stops, and he looks at the audience. Said, why am I pulling a chain? Now, I know he stole this from some other profession, but he said, I'm pulling the chain because have you ever tried to push a chain? Imagine trying to push a chain is very, very difficult. Pulling a chain is very easy. So the message is your arms and the club become the chain. They're the chain. So your left hip is what you pull the chain with. So I've set up, I've swung back to my right. It's now time to go forward. All I'm thinking of is take this hip that has most of the weight, rotate, and what does that do to my arms and the club? Pulls them along. Again, most people when they chip, because they just don't know what they're doing, they try and use their arms. That's trying to push the chain. That's really hard to do on a consistent basis. So I'm set to swing. I'm back. All I did is I moved this hip. That pulled my arms and the club along. And oh, by the way, I started with 65 or 70% of my weight wear. So it becomes very easy. It's not like you have to shift your weight. It's already there. You've prepared for it. Make sense? Okay. Under, downswing. Write this down. The swing is always short to long. In other words, if I go back to, say, 8 o'clock, then I want to make sure that I swing through to maybe 2 o'clock. So my backswing is short compared to my follow through. It's always short to long.